Okay, what's up, everybody? We're just waiting for everything to load in here. Let's see here. Looks like YouTube is up. YouTube's happening. Where's Rockfin? Let me get to Rockfin. Boom, go live. All right, Rockfin's up. YouTube's up. We're alive. All right. Good to see everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all safe. Let's see here. Let me just make sure we'll let some people load in here because I am a little bit early. Um, and yeah, that's how it is. That's how we do. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. Good morning to all my West Coasters. How's it going in the future? Australia, New Zealand. You're up early in the future. Did you fix climate change? Let the rest of us know the deal. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. This is the headlines episode where I go through some of the news of the week that that I think's important. We're going to be talking some election results. There were some elections this week. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a little bit of good news for net neutrality. I got to follow up on what's going on at the FCC. There's some good news, but there's still some action that needs to be taken. So we're going to be talking about that. And defunding the police won locally, by the way, where you might be surprised where, but we're going to talk about it. So we got a lot of that coming up. But first, before I really jump into it, first of all, to all the podcast listeners, shout out to Jeffrey. That was his rendition of the Get Your News On with Ron theme song. And you can check out Jeffrey's tea shop at zt.com. That's Z-I-Z-H-I, excuse me, T-E-A.com, zt.com. Check out his tea shop. That was his rendition of the Get Your News On with Ron theme song. And if you want to send me your own rendition of the theme song, it makes me very happy. Go to ronplacone.com and shoot that over to me. I'd love to feature it on the show. If you got a band or you're an artist yourself and you want to do a quick little Get Your News On with Ron theme song, send it over to me. I'll play it. It's a good time. And shout out to everyone else who makes this show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is a place to find all the content creators you know and love. They curate a list. They update it twice a day to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord, independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. Before we get into the headlines, I do have one other personal thing I want to mention. So today is the 1 year anniversary of me and my wife and I, and our cat Lucy, all three of us moving to the San Pedro neighborhood here in Los Angeles. It has been exactly 1 year today. We moved the day after the election, actually, which was that was deliberate. I decided, I was like, look, the day after the election, I am going to be angry no matter what. And I'm going to be just sort of in a weird reflexive place of thinking, wow, think about where I was at when the primary started and the hopes of a Bernie Sanders presidency, and to think of where we are going to end up. There's a lot weighing on my mind in many ways, a lot of frustration, a lot of disappointment, a lot of letdown. I mean, yeah, we all went through it. You guys, and we were on lockdown. So anyway, I thought it'd probably be a good idea to just have something to take my mind off of it for a little bit of time. Moving, that's as good a thing as any. So we actually moved the day after the election out to the San Pedro neighborhood. And I just want to say real quick about that. This year, and I'm going to be talking about this more as we get closer to the end of the year, but this year has sucked very hard for me personally. And I think it's safe to say for the world. And I know for me personally, this is not the same for everyone, but for me personally, this year has been way worse than 2020. Way worse. So, and I bring that up not because I want any sympathy or because I am special in any way. I bring that up because I know there are a lot of other people who feel the exact same way. And I want you to know you are not alone. I want you to know it is okay. And I want you to know it will get better. We will get through this. I know you're probably tired of hearing that. And I know in some ways that may just sound like background noise. And I know it's hard not to be cynical. I get it. I totally get it. And there are days where I feel completely hopeless. And I feel like, you know what, this is just where we're at and it's never, but it will get better. We will get through this. There will be a better tomorrow. And I want you to know, if you're in that boat, which a lot of us are in that boat, where we're thinking, geesh, we thought 2020 ending, things were going to at least start to go to bed. It feels like things have just gotten even worse. You're not alone. You're not alone, and we will get through this. And anyway, I guess the other reason I bring that up is because, well, this year has sucked so hard for so many reasons, societal reasons. And then, of course, I've had some things in my personal life not go so great. You guys know Lucy has had some issues this year. I've had some other health issues going on in my family that I don't want to go into detail about. And then, of course, having to cancel another tour. I mean, the list goes on and on. This year has sucked really hard. But I got to say, moving to this neighborhood is among the really cool things. You know, moving to this neighborhood is has been a bright spot and in a not so great year. And, you know, being surrounded by all the wonderful nature in this neighborhood, having the beach nearby, it's really helped make this year more bearable. And later tonight, I'm going to be going to the First Thursday Art Walk. There's a big First Thursday event every first Thursday in my neighborhood in San Pedro. I'm going to be going there with my friend Tina Desiree Berg. She's going to make the trip out. We're going to hang out. And yeah, it really just helps. You know what I mean? So I got to say, Pedro, thank you for a wonderful first year. And here's to many more. And okay, personal announcement over. Let's get into the election, shall we? Let's get into some of the stuff that happened. We're not going to cover all of it, but we'll talk about some of it. So this is from CBS News, the 2021 election results. GOP celebrates Youngkin's win in Virginia. Republicans in Washington exulted in Republican Glenn Youngkin's victory in the Virginia governor's race Tuesday over former Governor Terry McAuliffe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but we all know Terry McAuliffe and the race in Virginia, where McAuliffe ran on absolutely nothing. His entire campaign was, I'm not Trump. I'm not Trump. Trump's bad, and I'm not him. That was the guy's entire campaign. He wasn't running against Trump. He was running against this Youngkin guy. But he just sort of campaigned against Trump while offering voters absolutely nothing. And it didn't work. It didn't work. Isn't that interesting? It didn't work once again. And here's my theory. You have been seeing a lot of theories yesterday and continue today as to why the Democrats blew it again in so many ways. And the theories are the usual suspects. It's the left's fault. It's quote unquote purity tests. It's what else? Oh, it's Afghanistan. They didn't run far enough to the right. It's because someone made up that thing that they're like, oh yeah, it's because of Afghanistan, because that's what's on the mind. People who are food insecure and who are worried about making rent, they're really upset that we started to end a 20-year war. They're really upset that Joe Biden's getting us out of Afghanistan. They're upset about that. That's on the top of their mind. Sure. James Carville recently blamed, quote, wokeness on why the Democrats lost. And you know what? Maybe, depending on how you define wokeness, maybe he actually has a point. You know, James, maybe you actually have a point. Because wokeness, I guess, can just be interpreted as awake. And maybe more people are awake to the fact that we are decades behind the rest of the industrialized world when it comes to healthcare because of the greed and corruption of the industry and pharmaceutical industries. Maybe more people are awake to the fact that having to choose between a corrupt investor and a corrupt investor isn't much of an option. Maybe people are awake to the fact that policies that make people's lives better. They're no longer scared of it's socialism. And they're realizing, hey, this thing you called socialism, those are just policies that make all of our lives better. Those are policies for working people. Maybe this socialism thing isn't so bad. Hey, guess what? It isn't. It's actually really good. You know what's really bad? Capitalism. Maybe people are awake to that, James. Maybe more people are waking up to that. So a right-wing Clinton Democrat who just says, I don't talk mean like Trump, that's not enough to win anymore. That's not enough to win. And here's the thing. People are saying, oh, the Democrats, when will they ever learn this? When do they ever learn this? Here's a little bit of another bitter pill, but it's the frickin' truth. They're not interested in, quote, learning. The Democrats are not trying to learn. The Democrats are part of a duopoly where we have two parties who are both owned by Wall Street. So the first priority of the Democratic Party is not winning. Their first priority is keeping the donors happy. So no health care, no living wages, no social programs that'll benefit the working class, nothing that'll disrupt their apple cart. That's what they're offering. And if they can offer that and in the meantime beat a Republican or two, that's good. But if not, no biggie. Because guess what? The apple cart keeps a rolling. And hey, whenever Dems lose to Republicans, it's a really great fundraising year. And they know that. They're not interested in learning. How can you look at this institution and think that their first priority is winning? The GOP is literally a neo-fascist operation, and they make no qualms about it. And yet, Democrats lose to them constantly. You think that isn't by design? It is. And when I say this, I'm not trying to tell people to give up. I'm not suggesting everybody just gives up on everything. But I am saying, know what's really going on. You got to know thy enemy, so to speak. Know that this is what's really going on. So this isn't just about let's just vote lesser of two evils. Let's vote blue no matter who, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not going to change anything. You have to change the system. We got to change the system, which is not an easy task. It's a very difficult task. But you know what's even more difficult? Allowing this status quo to continue, because it's literally going to get us all killed. So that's way worse. Ron, that sounds really difficult. Yeah, it is. You know what's way worse? Doing nothing. That's way freaking worse. Doing absolutely nothing. So that's what happened in this election. That is what happened. A guy offered nothing to put, and then you had the Lincoln Project. They did all these goofy stunts against the Youngkin guy. They dressed up as white supremacist. And I mean, what was that? That was just ridiculous. Here's the thing. Nobody is inspired by the Lincoln Project. The Lincoln Project, for anyone who, and I'm sure I know appreciate the choir right now, they are just a bunch of Republicans who decided, oh, Trump talks really mean, and we don't like this mean talking Trump, so we're going to distance ourselves. And amidst a couple bougie wine mom liberals, they're inspiring. And when I say liberals, I don't mean anything remotely close to the left. I mean liberal in the contemporary American sense, meaning they're conservatives. They are conservatives who have money and gay friends. That's who the Lincoln Project inspires. They inspire people they're basically Republicans, but they don't want to admit they're Republicans. They're in denial to the reality that they're Republicans because all these policies benefit them because they're rich. And we should be even more weary of people like the Lincoln Project who say, yeah, we're fine with the GOP ideas. We just don't like Trump because he's mean. Because I have been asking this question for years now. I have yet to get an answer. I'll never get an answer. But I've been asking it nonetheless. And I've asked everyone from moderates to neoliberals to conservatives, what is the difference politically, policy-wise, between Trump and the GOP? What's the difference? Give me one difference. Without talking about his tweets, give me one difference. No one's been able to do that because there is no difference. He is the GOP. He's the GOP minus subtlety. That's what he's always been. His policies are all the same. So when you see these people like the Lincoln Project come along, he's just so mean. What they're really saying is, we're fine with these barbaric policies. that screw you over and make this country a borderline third world dystopian hellscape. We're fine with all those policies that benefit the 1% and no one else. We're fine with that. We just don't want somebody who doesn't have subtlety, so they take the mask off as to how brutal all of this is. That's all Trump is. He just took the mask off, not on purpose. He didn't do it on purpose. He did it because he doesn't have any subtlety. He was the guy who would say, hey, we're staying in Afghanistan until we get all the resources, right? Oh, you're not supposed to say that part out loud. You don't say that part out loud, but Trump did because he doesn't care. So that's all the Lincoln Project is. They're just Republicans who just want somebody to talk nice so it doesn't sound as brutal as it actually is. They want the status quo. They want the status quo. I despise Trump as much as they do, but I despise Trump because of his policies, which are GOP policies. They despise Trump because he's acknowledging what those policies actually are. He's accidentally telling the truth about those policies. That's all Trump is. So, we're just, and it inspires nobody. It doesn't win with voters. It does not win with voters. It just lost in Virginia. In New Jersey, Phil Murphy won. Phil Murphy won in New Jersey. So what was going on in New Jersey? Now, New Jersey is a relatively leans Democratic state, but they definitely, they've had like Chris Christie, stuff like that before. But here, we're over at Reuters now. Democratic New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy narrowly wins re-election. Well, what was he doing? Let's scroll down a little bit. There's something here I want to share. Murphy has presided over a political shift. This is according to Reuters. Murphy has presided over a political shift to the left in the state, including new taxes on millionaires, tougher firearms restrictions, a higher minimum wage, and paid sick leave. He also defended his robust public health measures aimed at curtailing the coronavirus pandemic. And that guy won. Meanwhile, McAuliffe, who offered people nothing except I'm not Trump, he lost. That's interesting. But let's blame the left. Let's talk about how it's the left's fault somehow. Somehow this is the left's fault. This is Purity Test's fault. This isn't, we offered the voters nothing and it didn't work again, and we're not interested in changing. Even CNN gets it. Check out this headline from CNN. Voters don't care about Donald Trump. They care about Joe Biden's unpopularity. Even CNN gets it. Even CNN. We campaigned against a guy who wasn't running, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Who saw that coming? So that's some at the larger level, at the state and federal level, some of the stuff that went on in those elections. And again, it's the same playbook. Democrats offer absolutely nothing, and they wonder why the GOP beats them. Except they're not actually trying to change. Again, because winning is not the first priority. And this is setting the table for the midterms. I have a feeling the midterms, it's going to be a very heavy GOP wins. And I think it's pretty likely that the GOP could win the White House again in 24. I think that's very likely. And again, you have a two-party duopoly that's working together. They're on the same team. They have the same owners. The GOP, literally neo-fascist. The Democrats, neoliberal. Neoliberalism leads to neo-fascism 100% of the time. We're seeing it play out. In Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan, there's all kinds of lax regulations there, where they actually found this out yesterday. Even Bernie Sanders was tweeting about this, where billionaires are going to pay even less. The rich is getting an even bigger tax break in his plan than they did previously. And it's because, again, the neoliberal playbook, where it's like, okay, we're going to do something about this, but we're not going to have any types of protections that actually reels in the corporatocracy. That's neoliberalism. Oh, we'll just let the market have at it. Whereas neo-fascism is a little more blunt, where they're like, no, we're giving the corporations everything they want. We're like just giving it to them. We're giving it to them. The neoliberalism is a little more subtle, where it's like, well, we're not on the surface just giving it to them, and we're giving you a little more lip service, but we're not going to have any protections either. So the corporations at the end of the day are still going to get what they want. Neoliberalism leads to neo-fascism. Neo-fascism then goes back to neoliberalism, which goes back to neo-fascism. And that's our system. It's like a ping pong volley of neoliberalism and neo-fascism. And we're the ball getting bounced around people. Now, here's the other kicker. No one's trying to win the volley. No one's, the GOP's just like, here you go, neoliberal. Here you go, neo-fascism. Here you go, neoliberalism. Here you go, neo-fascism. And it's not a real competition. It's not and again, I'm not trying to encourage cynicism. I'm just saying, know what we're up against. Know what we're up against. And literally, so Ron, what's your solution? What's your solution, Ron? If it is that corrupt electorally, what's your solution? Well, electoralism is only one tool in the toolkit of change. You know, all the other tools in the toolkit of change: strikes, protest, activism, getting in the streets. All significant change that's happened in this country in the past 100 years started in the streets. It just did. New Deal started in the streets. New Deal didn't happen because FDR felt like being a nice guy. It happened because people got in the streets and they said, we're not going to take it anymore. And electoralism isn't just at the state and federal level. It's also local. Which brings me to, let's before we get off of election results, let's go to some more election results. We're going to go to some local results. Because keep in mind, electoralism is also local, and that's something this show is going to start highlighting more of. Check out this good news. We got some good news today, by the way. Here's some of it. Black Lives Matter activist. This is from NBC, by the way. Black Lives Matter activist wins in Iowa on a defund the police platform. Iowa. Defund the police, decriminalize pot, strong public utilities, strong public housing, or affordable housing, rather. That won in Iowa, not in some of these supposed progressive utopias we're told exist in the United States. I'm told I live in a supposed progressive utopia in the United States. There's no such thing, okay? I can tell you. Now, full disclaimer, I've never lived in Eugene, Oregon. But, you know, I've lived in Seattle. I live here in Los Angeles. I've lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've lived in Nashville, Tennessee. I've lived in Bloomington, Indiana. I've lived a couple different places in this country. I can tell you, an actual left-wing place does not really exist in the United States because the United States is such a far-right country. And even if you live, you know, in a more progressive place, you're still, oh man, I have to sneeze. All right. There was no saving that. That's Lucy's on the couch, so I can't put that on Lucy. But she bounces around this desk a lot. Sometimes I get a little dander. And a little sneeze happens. But anyway, let's get to this. Indira Shoemaker, who we're going to try to get on this show, by the way, will become the youngest member and the only person of color on the Des Moines City Council. A 27-year-old Black Lives Matter activist ousted a two-term incumbent on Tuesday to win a seat on the Des Moines City Council. She got 46% of the vote, ran on a platform that included defunding the police, decriminalizing pot. There you go. Only member under 30, only person of color. And I bet you that the corporate media will continue to talk about. They'll continue to talk about how left-wing ideas can't win in the heartland. In the Midwest, you can't run too far to the left. You'll lose the Midwest. They've been telling us that forever. Despite the fact that in my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, part of the Midwest, card-carrying DSA members are winning local elections. A progressive slate of judges just won. The mayor was getting a little too buddy-buddy with the police who were kettling protesters. They got rid of that mayor. That's just in one city. And in Iowa, someone who ran on defunding the police, a young woman of color who ran on defunding the police, won. She won. And what has the largest growth of DSA chapters? Texas. So yeah. Left-wing issues. Left-wing can't win in the Midwest. Sure. The Midwest, which by the way also includes some of arguably the most progressive cities. And again, in comparison, there actually are no full-on progressive cities in the United States. At least that's my belief. But as far as like trying to get there, Midwest includes Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Chicago. So, yeah. Anyway, so there you go. Congratulations, Indira. And I am sincerely hoping she comes on this show. We're definitely going to try to get her on this show. So, speaking of other things you can do beyond electoralism, I want to share this video or audio for everyone checking out the podcast later. This is a bunch of Sunrise Movement and Resist Line 3 activists confronting Mr. Joe Manchin. Check this out. Here, hold on. There it goes. All right, let me give you guys a little bit of volume here.
We want to live.
They're chanting to "We want to live."
We want to live. We want to live. We want to live.
Look at how angry he looks.
We want to live. We want to live. We want to live.
What do you think he's whispering to that guy? Joe Manchin's whispering to someone.
We want to live.
I wonder what he said to that guy.
You're killing us. You're killing us. You're killing us. We want to live. We want to live. We want to live. We want to live. We want to live.
Back up!
We want to live. We want to live.
Kudos to them. Kudos to all the Line 3 protesters. Kudos to all the members of the Sunrise Movement who were there. That should be happening to every politician. Every single politician, that should be happening to. The GOP, Democrats, and especially people like Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. Absolutely. All of them. And by the way, when you are a member of Congress or a member of the Senate, these are Ro Khanna's words, by the way, not mine. Ro Khanna, these are his words. Member of Congress, you are the 1% of the 1% of the 1% in terms of how much power you have. You are part of the ruling class. You have a ton of power. So that means you might get interrupted in public. And if you can't deal with it, you can't handle that job. You shouldn't have that job. And people have every right to confront you anywhere. Anywhere. Because guess what? The planet's collapsing. Society is collapsing. We are entering straight up neo-feudalism. Some could argue we're already there. So yeah, you can make politicians uncomfortable in public. Absolutely. I'm not advocating violence. I'm not saying, in a non-violent way, confront in a non-violent way. But protesting, confronting them, absolutely. Absolutely. It has to happen. It has to happen. There has never been any type of change in this country unless the politicians involved were scared they're going to lose their job. Joe Manchin, by the way, they confronted him after he got off of his yacht. I mean, how's that for some poetic, interesting coincidence there? I don't know if coincidence is the right word, but you know what I mean. He was getting off of his yacht. I mean, talk about just the ruling class, just right in your face. The prince gets off of his yacht and the peasants have something to say. Well, guess what? We, the peasants, we're pissed off and we're not going to take it anymore. We're some pissed off peasants. Is that a name of, that should be a podcast if it's not. Pissed off peasants. I'm writing that down. That has to be taken already. There has to be a show called Pissed Off Peasants. Pissed Off Peasants with Placone. Who wants to start that with me? Drop me an email if you want to. There's already no offense to them. I'm not aware of your show, but there's got to be that show. It's got to exist already. I've not heard of it, but I'm sure that's been taken already. So just so you know, I'm not aware of it, but yeah, I feel like it's got to already exist. Anyway, so good for them. Shout out to Resist Line 3. Shout out to Joey Peltier, who has been active with Honor Earth and Resist Line 3, who has been on this show. He was arrested at the White House recently. And shout out to all those climate activists. And again, there you go. I'm not just complaining about electoralism, folks. I'm offering some solutions. Those are some solutions. Protesting, getting out in the streets, strikes. We got to go on. More and more workers are on strikes. It has to increase, and we need a general strike. And hey, electoralism locally. has its place, and it's important. We got a victory in Iowa. In Buffalo, they're showing us in Buffalo that, whenever somebody who's still an apologist for the Democratic establishment says blue no matter who, you tell them, hell no. Because once and for all, they showed us that that is not what they actually preach, or they don't practice what they preach. Rather, they showed us that once and for all in Buffalo. In Buffalo, where what was the Walton? Um, Here, hold on, I forget the first name there. Let me look that up. India Walton, excuse me. India Walton in Buffalo. She was a socialist who won the nomination for mayor in the primary. The establishment Democrat had a huge writing campaign, and it looks like she's not going to be able to overcome that writing campaign. So, whenever someone says blue no matter who, and again, this is just the Democratic establishment, they'd rather risk losing the election completely than have a socialist in there. They'd rather risk it all than have a socialist in there, because the Democratic establishment, and again, I'm specifying here. I'm saying establishment, not base, establishment, which is the DNC and all of their apologists and the donors. They hate socialists and lefties more than they hate the GOP. Why? Because again, they're benefiting from the status quo, and the GOP is part of that status quo. So they hate you, and we've all seen it firsthand. They hate lefties more than they hate Republicans. They'd rather risk putting a Republican somewhere than have a lefty hold power. They proved it time, and they proved it big time in 2020. Joe Biden was perfectly capable of losing to Trump. He would have lost to Trump if it wasn't for a pandemic. I solely believe that. If the Trump administration wouldn't have mishandled every single thing during the pandemic and would have given people an emergency UBI, Trump would still be president. The pandemic is the only reason Joe Biden was elected president. The only reason. The establishment knew that, but they would rather have the GOP retain the White House than have someone like Bernie Sanders in the White House. And now they just proved it once again in Buffalo. So, now let's get to a little bit of other good news. I said that I had some good news. There's some pretty good news in the digital rights sphere, which again, here's another solution: cause-based initiatives and cause-based actions. A cause that's very important to me is digital rights, municipal broadband, which is city-owned internet, and net neutrality. Well, guess what? Remember last week we talked about on the show that Biden was allegedly about to make some FCC appointments. What he was allegedly going to do was he was going to nominate Gigi Sohn to the FCC to fill that fifth seat, and he was going to appoint Jessica Rosenworcel as acting head of the FCC. Both of these appointments are good appointments. Jessica Rosenworcel, good head, good member of the FCC. Gigi Sohn, good on digital rights, and a pro net neutrality FCC member. Keep in mind, throughout Joe Biden's entire presidency, the FCC was in a 2-2 gridlock: 2 anti-net neutrality, 2 pro-net neutrality. So everyone was waiting for Joe Biden to appoint that fifth seat. He promised a pro-net neutrality fifth seat, but, actions speak louder than words. So we were waiting on that. We finally got it. We finally did get it. Here's the headline from Ars Technica: Biden finally makes FCC picks. Rosenworcel as chair, Gigi Sohn as commissioner. So he did make those appointments. However, we are not out of the woods yet, folks. We're not out of the woods yet because the Senate needs to approve those picks. So the task now is rallying like hell to put pressure on the Senate to approve those picks before the end of the year. And good places to go for calls to action around this: fightforthefuture.org and freepress.net. And as soon as there are more formal calls to action, I will, of course, be talking about that here on the show. Any formal calls to action I know about, I will be promoting on the show like I always do. Now, here's some other cool news. I did a short video about, hey, they're finally moving forward on these FCC picks. That's good news. We're going to have a pro net neutrality FCC again. Or I don't even know if again is the right word. I feel calling Obama's FCC pro net neutrality is a bit, obviously they had the votes for it, but Tom Wheeler, he wasn't anyway. You get what I mean. Whatever. We'll just run with it. But Somebody brought this to my attention on Twitter after I talked about the FCC becoming pro net neutrality. Here's some good news in Massachusetts. Northampton in Massachusetts, voters resoundingly passed municipal broadband ballot question. So again, here's news that's in electoralism, but it's not about candidates. It's about ballot initiatives and measures, and having different ballot measures. And here was a ballot measure. Northampton voters resoundingly passed a municipal broadband ballot question, opening the path to citywide internet. Northampton voters on Tuesday, this is from the Massachusetts Live. Northampton voters on Tuesday widely approved a ballot measure that will allow the city to pursue municipally owned internet, paving the way for local leaders to take the next step in a project that is already approved by the city council. Now, why do you think that municipal broadband is picking up steam in Massachusetts in particular? Well, I'm going to show you. Check this out. Here's the community net map of all the municipal networks going on in the country. Here, let's wait for it to load. Come on, load here. There we go. Look at all those around Massachusetts. Now look at all those around Tennessee. Here's the deal, folks. Municipal broadband spreads. It spreads. I don't want to say spreads like a virus. That's not a good analogy to make right now for many reasons. But it does spread. It spreads like beautiful flowers. Let's go with that analogy instead. Because what happens is people go, wait, they have this amazing internet and they pay less for it than I pay to AT&T or Comcast. What the hell? Where are some of the most one of the states with the most municipal broadband attempts going on right now is Tennessee. Why is that? Because Tennessee has Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee was ahead of the curve, and they've had a municipal broadband internet project for years because they revitalized their electrical grid, and they have municipal broadband. They have some of the best internet in the country, some of the best in the world even, and they pay a cheaper price for it. It's a city-owned utility. And they're finally, I mean, they're known as Gig City USA now. They have some of the best internet in the world. Other cities in Tennessee were like, what the hell? That's awesome. Why don't we have that? This isn't a left or right issue. This isn't some like, oh, this is some socialist takeover of it. This is just a better way to get our internet. It's a better way. Why are we paying these big cable companies all this money when we could be keeping that money in our community? It's good for jobs. It's good for opportunities. And we all get great internet. And it's good for investment, by the way, because more companies are going to want to locate here because we have absolute awesome internet. So you can make the case from the left or the right for this. It's not a left-right issue. Whether you are a hardcore conservative or a lefty or anything in between, you should be for municipal broadband. If you're a conservative, hey, this is a great business incentive. If you're a lefty, hey, this is about media democracy. This is about getting jobs local. This is about, getting the big cable companies out of our lives. It's a no-brainer. So shout out to Northampton. And hey, guess what? Charlemagne, Massachusetts, not too long ago, they voted. They're a town of, I believe, 7,000. It's like 7,000, 9,000, something like that. They voted against Comcast building internet infrastructure in their area and said, you know what? No, thank you, Comcast. We're going to do it ourselves. I bet Northampton saw what they had in Charlemagne and said, we want this. And that's why there's municipal broadband projects going on in the Cape Cod area. There's municipal broadband projects going on in Northampton now, in Cambridge, because they saw what Charlemagne did. And they said, we want to do that. Because, oh, by the way, are you curious? Hey, Ron, what's the success rate of municipal broadband projects? 100%. 100% of the time, literally, a municipal broadband project offers better internet at a better price than the big cable competitors. Why is that? Do you think it's because Comcast or AT&T doesn't have the resources to build high-quality internet? No, they do. They're just not concerned about building high-quality internet. They're concerned about making money. They're concerned about their profit margins. So when it comes time to cut corners and not offer you the best service, they're not going to do it. They're going to cut those corners because they have an organized duopoly. They have an organized duopoly where, hey, this is AT&T territory. Hey, this is Comcast territory. And there's a little bit of some overlap there. Now, there's a few other players. I know I have Cox in my area. There's Verizon. But for the most part, they have an organized duopoly where they have their territories and they all offer shitty internet at a shitty price because they all just want to make as much money as possible. Whereas if it's your city, the analogy I like to make, whether you're the mayor, the richest resident, or the poorest resident, we all want our porn to load fast. That's what we all want. So with municipal broadband, you're getting the best internet possible at a reasonable price because the community's involved. It has a 100% success rate. 100%. So good for Northampton. Good for Northampton. So this is how we fix this place, folks. This is how we do it. Cause-based initiatives and activism around those causes. Strikes, protests, localism, local engagement, community building, sustainable farming, and electoralism on the local level. And I'm not saying electoralism on the state or federal level, we should abandon that. Hey, we got to keep trying. I get that. But if we don't do all those other things I mentioned, if we don't do all of those things, electoralism on the state and federal level is going to be hopeless because change happens from the bottom up, not the top down. It goes from the bottom up. So all those things that I mentioned, that's building the groundwork. That's building the groundwork to be powerful, to have some community power so that we can actually start changing, so we can start changing the system and have a better electoral system at the state or federal level. You want a better state federal system instead of just, focusing on electoralism and then just losing election after election. A better idea, focus on ranked choice voting. Fight for ranked choice voting. Fight to get more opportunities for third parties, to level the playing field, get money out of politics. Those are cause-based initiatives. And without that, we're not going to change the electoral scene for the better. So I like the fact that even though there was a lot of discouraging things that happened in the elections this week, there's a lot of encouraging things too. And there's a lot of reasons for optimism too. And that's something we got to hang on to, especially since, if your year's been like mine, it really freaking sucked. It really freaking sucked. Let me go to the chat. Oh, wait. First, I want to thank you guys know that I am still raising funds for my movie, and we're going to start filming very soon. My goal is before the end of the year to start filming the movie. And you can check out that trailer on my YouTube page, or it's my pinned tweet, or you can go to GoFundMe.com, type in Left at Wall. That's the name of the movie. Just type in Left at Wall. You can watch the movie trailer there. If you like what you see and you're able, please consider a contribution. I know there's a lot of great causes out there that deserve your hard-earned money. But if you got a little bit to spare and you want to help make this movie a reality, please consider it. There's a lot of cool perks. You get a public thank you on this podcast. If you give $100 or more, you get a thank you in the credits, and we'll be sharing behind the scenes footage with the people who give. And there will be a virtual screening with a Q&A with the cast that you get invited to. So there's some fun things that we do as a thank you. And it is just a thank you. There's no perks. There's no return on investment. There's no physical swag, nothing like that. It's just a thank you. It's just things we're doing to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to David Schwinn. Thank you very much, David Schwinn, and Geraldine Cleary. Thank you very much, David and Geraldine. Thank you very much for your generous contributions to make this film a reality. And I can't wait for y'all to see the finished product. And it's a project. It's a project, a product. Blah, 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 blah. I'm so excited to make this movie. It is the biggest undertaking that I've taken thus far in my lifetime, literally. And I'm so excited for you all to see it. Hey, Zeus, what's up, buddy? Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Thank you very much for that, Jesus. And you say, who's scarier, Trump or DeSantis in 2024? I don't think Trump's going to run again in 2024. I know some people are speculating that. I don't think he is. If he did, I think he could certainly win. Especially since I have a feeling Kamala is going to run in 2024. I mean, they were determined to shove Kamala down our throats somehow. So Joe Biden's likely not going to seek re-election, and Kamala is probably going to get the nod. I don't see her beating anyone in the GOP. We'll see. But I don't see Trump running again. So I would go with DeSantis because I think DeSantis will likely run, and I think DeSantis could definitely win. So I'll go with DeSantis just because I don't think Trump's going to run again. I think at the end of the day, Trump just kind of wanted to. I don't think Trump ever wanted the gig, you know. I think eventually he did just because of like his ego, just because everyone was telling him he couldn't. So that kind of stuck at his craw. But I think at the end of the day, Trump just kind of wanted to start a media network. And now that he's kind of been able to do that, I just don't think, yeah, that's what I think. Could be wrong, but that's what I think. We'll see. Maybe he will run again. But I don't think he ever wanted the gig, so I don't think he'll run again. But I think DeSantis will run. So, yeah. Thank you very much for that, Jesus. And guys, I got to mention with the holidays coming up, nothing says happy holidays like a personalized theme song. And you can get one at patreon.com/romplacone. Sign up for my Patreon at a give what you can level. It's whatever level you're comfortable giving. Even $1 a month goes a long way. I will make a personalized theme song for you or your loved one. Makes an awesome holiday gift. It's one of the perks of my Patreon. It's included because I do not have tiers on my Patreon. Everyone gets all the same perks, and it's all a give what you can level. So if you got an extra $1 a month and think that makes a great holiday gift, don't wait. Sign up now. Patreon.com/romplacone. It's an affordable holiday gift. And guess what? No shipping is involved. I live near the Port of LA, folks. I can tell you there's a bunch of ships. It's backed up. You can avoid shipping altogether. Good carbon footprint by getting a personalized theme song. I just make that. I post it online for you. No shipping involved. Boom. And it's a forever gift. Patreon.com/romplacone. And last announcement, LA. Graham Elwood and I have a stand-up show on November 27th. Get your tickets now, romplacone.com. We're doing a stand-up show at a new venue in the Toluca Lake area called Mrs. Robinson's Irish Pub. Romplacone.com for those tickets. Graham Elwood and myself will probably do a round of You Should Know This live. And we're going to have some of our friends on that show too. We should be announcing that shortly. But November 27th, it will definitely be the last stand-up show Graham and I do together in 2021. And it'll probably be the last domestic show we do for a while. We're going to be hitting the road, but we're mostly going to be doing international stuff together. You know, I'll still be doing some some domestic stuff on my own. So will he. I'm going to be doing Canada next year. So I'll be doing some U.S. cities near Canada, and I should be announcing some dates on that soon. But in Iceland, I think I'm going to come to Iceland, by the way. But yeah, anyway, so November 27th, that's the only date on the books right now. I should have more. I should have 2022 dates really soon, and I'm excited to announce those. But November 27th in Los Angeles. Grab your tickets. Don't wait. Romplacone.com. And once again, thank you to Geraldine and David for contributing to the Left It Wall GoFundMe. And thank you, Jesus, for your super chat contribution. And y'all know the drill in the meantime. Lucy says meow. And I say peace, love, a general strike, localism, muni broadband now, net neutrality, eat local, work local, active local, climate strike, protests. You get it? See you guys later. We'll be back Monday. We have MMT Monday. So on Monday, we'll be doing an MMT Monday. And Jeff, my my MMT guy, he said that he wants to switch it up and he wants to interview me. So it's going to be an MMT Monday, but Jeff is going to be doing the interviewing. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. He just said, "Are you game?" And I said, "Yeah, Jeff. I mean, you know, whatever. I trust you." Jeff's been doing the MMT Monday for a little bit. You know, he usually steers that episode. So I'm trusted. I don't know what Jeff has up his sleeve. Jeff, this might be a coup. This might be Jeff's coup. Now I'm nervous. What's Jeff going to do? I don't tune in Monday to find out. But Monday is MMT Monday. You know, I've been doing it. There's a headline show usually on Thursdays, and then there's an interview show earlier in the week. Jeff is going to be the interview show next week, and it's going to take place on Monday for MMT Monday. But Jeff's going to be interviewing me. We'll see how that goes. Peace, y'all.